welcome Dr. Gad El Qady to give his keynote. He is the first keynote speaker for the second day. So Dr. Gad El Qady is the president of NRIAG, Egypt National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, and he is also a very active participant member in GSPS Alumni Association in Egypt, and he get a diplomat for some while in Japan. So he is a very excellent example, not good example, excellent example about scientist and diplomat. So he will give in 15 minutes his thought about science diplomacy. So please, for you, Dr. Gad.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wala, for this kind introduction from you and for the wonderful organization for this very important and crucial symposium about science and diplomacy in different fields. From my experience, my presentation today, it is kind of my thought, since I'm geophysicist or geoscientist. So I will talk briefly about the role of geoscience in science diplomacy. I'm sharing my screen now. Do you see it?
Yes, I see it, Dr. Gad. Go ahead. But please put it in slideshow. Yes.
Okay. Well, from the point of view of geoscientist or geophysicist, I will talk about the motivation of and the rules of geoscience in science diplomacy, and some of main hazards that geoscientists work on it, like earthquakes and tsunami hazard, water desertification or drought, heritage and risk, and our rules as geoscientists. The motivation for my presentation or going through science diplomacy in geoscience, for many reasons. I think most of the participants of this symposium from different countries understand and know that a lot of wars worldwide, mainly because of commercial reasons and looking for natural resources like petroleum, natural gas, mineral resources, and others, which fall in the concept of geoscience. And that's why our motivation, or my motivation, is to find some way to collaborate together as geoscientists to reduce the conflict and wars worldwide, and hence decrease the number of victims and casualties due to either wars, earthquakes, tsunami, flash floods, and vice versa. It will reduce the poverty and migrants. A lot of migrants from different Middle Eastern countries migrate to Europe seeking for a good life or even seeking for jobs. If I'm going to talk about natural hazard, the natural hazard I'm classifying according to the matrix here in different concept. If the hazards are natural or even man-made, or voluntarily or involuntarily, or intense or diffuse. Out of this, natural, involuntarily, which is earthquakes, tsunami, volcanic eruption, cyclones, this is the most dangerous natural hazard. It has a lot of casualties, and even it has no border limit. For example, an earthquake can occur in country, but it destroy and affect a neighbor country or neighbor city, Tsunami as well. And later on, I can show you in some presentation how this can work globally. That's why we call geoscientists without borders. So for those hazards, there is no borders, no political borders, even between countries or cities or even prefectures in the same country. A minimum or voluntarily hazard like smoking or wood additives or even mount trainers or climbing, this voluntarily or and diffuse hazard as well. If I'm going to talk about an earthquake for those, because I know most of participants here in medical field, so you don't have more information about earthquake. Earthquake is a natural vibration or breaking of rocks due to an energy stored in the subsurface, and this energy go through a weak point through a fault. This vibration or shakes, it move in all direction according to the geometry of that piece of land or the earth where the fault is exist and the earthquakes occurs. Here just I make a sketch for subsurface of the earth. If the epicenter or focus of the earthquake in subsurface at depths of several kilometers. So once the earthquake happened, the waves propagate in the subsurface, and you can see this can be borderline between cities or prefecture or even country. So in this concept, there is no how to say. There is no way to say this is my borderline, so the earthquake cannot overcome the border. So we need a kind of diplomacy to work on this area and find some solution to collaborate, enhance, and mitigate the hazard that may occur due to those earthquakes. One of the common and famous maps for earthquakes epicenters worldwide here, the Pacific Ocean, and you can see Asia, Japan here. I mentioned Japan because JSBS, the Japanese society, one of the main organizer of this event. And here, America, Northern America, South America as well, Australia. So there is no border between these countries for the earthquakes. And here the most famous or dangerous earthquakes worldwide, you can see it's working or distributed everywhere. There is no border between countries, no border between continents. An earthquake may happen here and have effect and destruction on some way on different country. As well as later on, I'm talking about tsunami here. Tsunami happen as a result of big earthquakes. The tsunami waves arrive a few hours after the earthquake happened, and again, it of course it may cause lower damage or flooding than local tsunami if it is internationals, but still it has a hazard. It has a risk to those countries. And again, it has no border limit. It can transgress the border between countries and cities and prefecture as well. Of course, there is now in the geoscience community, there is different exercise and drills to collaborate together. If there is a tsunami warning alarm getting from one country, how and what should the neighbor country, the neighbor geoscience organization or institution as my institute can work in this area and how to collaborate. Again, in context of tsunami, you can see that was a historical tsunami event in Alaska. And you can see, according to the map here, it affects almost all the Pacific region from Asian, Australian, American, North and South American as well, you know. And the tsunami of Indonesia, 2004 is not far away from this one. It affects all the Pacific and Indian Ocean countries as well. And if you remember 2011 tsunami in Japan, that's triggered by Tohoku earthquake 2011. It was very much devastated accident and casualties at that time in Japan. Another geohazard, which is water drought. Water drought is that linked to wildfire or loss of water. That loss of water, that's one of the main problem facing strategic goals of United Nations is decreasing the amount of water per capita. and that's represented by drought in some countries. And this also links to major loss of life. So in some African countries or even Asian, Latin American countries with this drought, there is a loss of life and animals for natural parks, you know, of course, and loss of habitats, loss of agriculture land, and this loss of economy, of course. And that's caused due to reduction of water quantity and quality. And this is just some shots, an example from drought that was in Texas. And here, this is a common picture in African country. And you can see in the picture, the boy or the guy are looking for a very small amount of water, even is not clear because he is thirsty. He needs to drink water. So this is a very geohazard risk that we need science and diplomacy to work together. The community of geoscience work together to face this kind of challenges and overcome the difficulties to measure the societal impacts of this one. It's very crucial to work together to find some solution to help those people to get out of this natural geohazard. Of course, direct meteorological and hydrological impact of high temperature and very low humidity, loss of soil moisture. That's a very typical picture of the man with his dog are walking in a desert. There is no even a little water to drink or to survive and his life as well. On the opposite of drought, flash floods. And a lot of countries, especially in Central Africa or even Asian country, they have a lot of rainfall and flash floods, as you can see here. And that's again cause a lot of loss for lives. This is, I think, in Thailand somewhere. This last year it was in Sudan. And this is again a very international hazard that geoscience community can work. One of the other main hazards that geoscientists should work in science and diplomacy concept, which is heritage and its risk, especially the heritage is one of our culture, old culture that maintaining a lot of nowadays culture and economy as well, and it is one of the SDGs elements. Out of risk sites in heritage, if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a big fire in Notre Dame fire that in historic cathedral in Paris, and even no one can help to survive this one. However, thanks to the new technology and the effort by geoscientists, because they have 3D models of this cathedral, they start to rebuild this one. I'm not sure if someone French in today's symposium, he may add some information later. But out of victims and wars that heritage sites in Syria, you can see this is a market, historical market to the left, and here to right, after the war and casualty, it is destroyed. So we are losing culture and heritage, and it is mankind. It is not a country culture, it is a worldwide culture, you know. And here, different historical sites, it has been destroyed because this either terrorism or wars attack. This still again in Syria. This very beautiful domes and historical building have been destroyed due to missiles or rockets. Again, flash floods and water, and this example in Jordan, you can see water are destroying a lot of historical sites, which meaning loss of some of worldwide heritage. You know, this is after sometimes being destroyed. Last year, if you remember, there was a lot of flash floods in Sudan, and Royal City, part of this Royal City being destroyed, and you can see the pictures. So still we need some collaboration from geoscientists worldwide, not only in Sudan, not only in Egypt, but to work together to find some solution to survive these historical sites. Here in Egypt, after October 1992 earthquake, a lot of destruction for historical sites in Cairo, domes and minarets being destroyed. My institute, NRIAG, we're working this one together with Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to survive a lot of these places. And I think one of my colleagues, Hani Hassan, is participating in today's seminar. He's also working on this one for ground shaking or ground motion monitoring at this building. Not only that, but also groundwater. Again, the case of Jordan, it was also happened in some places in Egypt, and this loss of worldwide history and heritage, you know. So for geoscientists, what we should do, you know, this is common picture I used to do in my presentation. Scientists usually need to make trial and make fine tuning for their results. Need to make tests and analyze and repeat again. Especially you as medical doctors for vaccine and many other trials. However, the decision maker need to push one button, either on or off, which is not applicable for scientists. So we need to find some common language between politician and scientists, and that should be in science and diplomacy. There is a lot of things to be done in science and diplomacy to convince those politicians and decision makers to understand the language of science, you know. And then a lot of action should be done in the international community, of course. Preparedness. We know there is a forecast for, not prediction. For example, for earthquake, you cannot predict, but there is forecasting. There is forecasting for climate change. There is forecasting for cyclones and others. So we should work together to make the community prepared and ready to understand or to bear the effect of this hazard. And of course, a lot of community now start, and countries as well, start to have early warning system that should reduce the hazard. And I made a roadmap for risk and reduction for many geohazard, like site selection or project characteristic. This is need to be discussed in detail. It is not to mention here, but just I'm showing you about monitoring and identification of our geohazard problems, and update the politician and decision makers about the income. Some of activities that geoscientists our geoscientists in international community can work together is training the community, not only the researcher or nearby scientists, but the general community, the public community, give a training, education, awareness. We at NRIAG has hold many training and workshop for even public community. We produce policy papers and documentation that politicians can understand the concept of the geohazard and make some recommendation and solution how to overcome this hazard. Of course, without international collaboration of the international community, nothing can be done, and even cannot convince the politician, especially in third world country like in Egypt or even African country or some Asian country, unlike some European country or even Japan, the politician understand the language of scientists. So we need to work together to have a wide area of collaboration to overcome this problem. This is in conclusion of my presentation. Thank you very much. And I would like to answer any question if there is any.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gad. Very interesting, and you made us remember very important nature events happened not only in Egypt but also in Japan. And in this occasion, I wanted to pray, send our prayer to rest in peace all Japanese people affected by this tsunami. I remember this day in 2011. It was a very bad day. So thank you so much. And you also mentioned a very important point is the networking, and we have to internationally collaborate with each other to reach the voice of scientists, not only in Egypt but also in worldwide. Scientists do amazing work, and their amazing work will not be with any value if a policymaker and decision makers hear their voice. So thank you so much for your thought, and I am happy and we have yes, we are very pleased to have you today. I know you are your schedule is very busy, but you was care about joining us, and I'm very happy to accepting our invitation for this workshop. Thank you so much, Dr. Gad.
Thank you very much.
And participant, if you have any question for Dr. Gad, thank you, my dear. If any participant have any question for Dr. Gad, you can raise your hand and ask your question. And if there is no questions, may I move to the next speaker? So I can see here is the hand.
There may be some question.
Thank you, Dr. Gad.
There may be some question.
You see, I didn't see you. You see some question? You wanted to post some question for participant?
No, I'm okay. If there is no question, of course I can answer. If there is, I think there is some question. There is Rahma raising the hand. Mahmoud.
Okay, so please, Rahma, unmute yourself and ask your Professor Dr. Gad your question.
Yeah, I want to understand it. Natural hazard. What is the cause of natural hazard? Is it man-made or is it come natural?
I explained in one slide. I can repeat it again. I showed matrix of natural hazard. Some of them are man-made and some others. Just a minute, I'll get it back to you. You see this slide? Rahma.
Yeah, I saw the slide, but I don't understand it.
That's the matrix of all hazards. It can be natural or man-made. For example, the earthquakes. The earthquakes is natural. The earthquake is natural, but mountaineers or mountain climbing is man-made. You know, smoking is man-made. You know, so this matrix control all kind of hazard, either natural or man-made, intense or diffuse, involuntarily or even voluntarily. Is it clear?
Yes, I'm clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rahma. Any questions?
I could see Mahmoud, or he
so please.
Please, Dr. Gad.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation that introduced the natural hazard and how we can implement international cooperation for disaster risk reduction, and how we can reflect this into the SDGs goals, sustainable development goal. But I'd like to ask you about cooperation, international cooperation between NRIAG and other neighbors country, especially in the fields of tsunami hazard assessment and early warning systems, and also cooperation in the seismology field.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, specifically to NRIAG as one of old and leading institution, not only in Egypt, but in Middle East, in the field of seismology. Of course, we have good collaboration and relation with all colleagues in the Middle East, in North Africa, Arabian region, and even Arabian and European colleagues as well. Let me remind you, this March, specifically on 8, 9, and 10, there was a tsunami exercise in Mediterranean. NRIAG was one of the main participants, and there was alert for tsunami event, one in Cyprus, other in Italy, and the third in Western Mediterranean. And we had showed a very good collaboration and attitude together with international community in this field. Of course, for seismology or earthquakes, we have a lot of exchange of data. We have our website, Athena, for the National Seismological Network, which also collaborate and work together with our international colleagues in this field. We exchange visits, we exchange ideas, we exchange seminars and symposium, because as I mentioned in my presentation, this kind of hazard has no border limit. So an earthquake may happen in one country and had effect or destruction in neighboring country, you know. So there should be international collaboration in this field as well. Is it okay?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gad, for the convenient answer.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. I posted the NRIAG website in chat room, Dr. Gad. If any interesting to check the website of NRIAG to know more about training course and activity in your institution. I see Dr. Francis raise his hand. Dr. Francis.
I also will post my email for any question later on as well.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead if there is a question.
Yeah, yes, Doctor. There is I wanted to inquire from you because there is about your assistance to other African countries. Because, for example, in Uganda, we've been having almost annual landslides at the near Mountain Elgon. So, as I wanted to know you, for example, through this science diplomacy, how you are helping to building capacity, for example, for such countries to prepare their early warning systems, because it's almost an annual event. Every year people lose their lives through those landslides, and there seems not to be a solution to that.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very interesting question. If I will talk about NRIAG activity in building capacity, we're working almost for last 30 years organizing international training course for Arab and African seismologists and observers. During this training course, we teach them not only seismology, all geoscience, and most of those colleagues being trained here, now they're director of their institution or research centers, and would be very happy to extend our collaboration with you as well. Together with this, recently we opened a kind of like studentship. Some of our African friends visit us, visit NRIAG, spend a couple of months or even up to 3 months, a kind of studentship for those who are working in master and PhD courses to learn and get some experience from our staff. We have some of running project, maybe not in Uganda. I can recall later on, or even you can send me email. I wrote my email in chatting window. I can send you a specific contact person being trained here in NRIAG from Uganda, but we'll be happy to support you. You are welcome to ever come to NRIAG to host you here for a few weeks to understand the specific problems you have and work together. Sometimes we can apply for a fund through African Union or even local fund from Egyptian government to work together in your specific problem.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gad. And really, I know Dr. Francis from more than 1.5 years. He is an active participant in public health in India. In international course, we took each other in ICMR in India. So please, I am very appreciated if you help him. He is very active. Yes, he is.
I wrote my email. Please contact me, Francis.
Okay, Dr. Francis, you are hearing Dr. Gad. So thank you so much, Dr. Gad, and we can stop now. I see no questions, no another person raising the hands. So thank you so much, Dr. Gad, and thank you for helping PhD student, Dr. Francis. And also you are very kind to write your email and help many participants also in your field of study. And I wanted to greet you about yes, Egypt have many funding opportunity. Not only to have a foreigner like someone said, no, Egypt can offer fund for national or Egyptian, and also for foreigner from African Union, from outside Africa. So thank you so much for your lecture. And I would like to send you our appreciation for being here again. Thank you so much, Dr. Gad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Dr. Siraj, you are here with us. Please, I want to welcome you to give your lecture. I know you are waiting a lot, and today we are behind our schedule by nearly 35 or more for 45 minutes. Dr. Siraj, you are here with me?
Yes, Dr. Wala. Can you hear me?